always does like the first couple of seconds as well too. So I always want to make sure that whenever I hit that, I'm like, all right, I am ready. We are good. Perfect. It just popped up. So let me go ahead and hit go live now. Okay, we are officially live now on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on X as well. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody who's tuning in and joining us today. This is a very special episode of our Design to Dev community interview series where we have with us our very own product designer, Salih Berk, who's going to talk to us all about our upcoming, or not upcoming, our newest redesign that we just recently launched here on Tuesday, on the 11th. So, Salih, if you want to maybe, for those of you who don't know us, or for don't know who don't know you, tell us who you are, what you do, and what you've been working on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nico, for the warm introduction. My name is Salih. I am one of the product designers at Zeplin. I do have a very interesting background. I just want to mention that. I did my undergrad in engineering and visual arts. Then I continue studying product design, UI UX design, and here I am.
There we go. There we go. You were like one of the very first design engineers, if you will. You started engineering and moved to design. I wonder how, do you think it's more common for people to move from engineering to design than it is from design to engineering?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I feel like everyone, like most of the engineer, most of my engineer friends, they're try to do engineering 24/7, and they are kind of getting bored, and they're like, okay, let me
Oh.
try design then. That's how they're like shifting.
All right, all right. I'm curious to know if there's like a big crossover the other way too. Like maybe some designers are like, I wonder what it's like there.
Yeah.
That's very interesting to hear. Thank you so much. So, could you maybe tell us a little bit too about what your day to day has looked like with the redesign? So maybe like what does the past month look like for you with all of this going on?
Okay. So we are a very global company, I will say. We do have lots of people from different time zone and like different countries. So my early morning usually start with like checking my emails, checking my Slack messages. Especially, I try to like prioritize people who are in different time zones,
Mm.
so I can just like answer them before they leave the office. Um, and then usually I do have a very clear next steps, and I start working on them around noonish, like afternoon noon. I try
Okay.
to like send some uh, initial draft or designs to Pelin,
Mm.
our lovely design manager, to get some feedback. And usually afternoon is all about like getting more feedback or redesigning, like iterating on the designs according to feedback.
Awesome. Very cool. And has that changed a lot with the redesign specifically? Like has there been a lot more actual design work that you've been doing, or has it been a lot more rework? Like what does that actually look like
Mm.
for you?
In the past, we were not really doing design library work, but with the redesign, we start doing some design library work as well. So like syncing the new components, taking care of them, writing some documentation for the component. They are all new for us, and they kind of like being introduced with the redesign process.
Okay.
So in this like last month or two, we were also highly invested in our design library.
Mm, awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And just overall too, how has the redesign been? Like, have there been any favorite moments that you've had so far? And if so, what have one of those been?
It was so much fun for me. It was something pretty new. In the past, like this is not my very first UI UX design job, but in the past I was more working with like projects uh, with other people. There was like more like the fundamental work or design system work was like completed. So with the Zeppelin redesign, actually we start building something from scratch from zero. That was something new for me. So in that sense, I really feel like I learn a lot and I grow a lot. um, so my favorite moment, I think I really enjoy when I first hit the export button, like fetch all of our components and put them into Zeplin and see them there, like in our grid view, so much organized and so much nice than our in the design tool. So that was my favorite, I think, moment, seeing that okay, it's happening.
So your favorite moment was like Marie Kondoing all of the things that you had been working on. That's interesting too, because I actually wasn't aware that it was starting from scratch. Like you went from 0 to 1. You should add that now. That's like a popular thing people add to their social media bios is like 0 to 1 product designer. So now you can
Yes.
officially say that you've done
Yeah, I become that 0 to 1 designers as well, I guess.
I love it. I love it. And speaking too of the actual redesign, what was your favorite feature or maybe screen that
Mm.
you did redesign? Like, what do you think looks the best now?
This is so hard to choose. Like, I feel like all the features and all the things that I designed, they're like my child. Like I cannot choose them between my children. Um, but I really enjoy when I was working with I will say screen detail, like where we have
Mm,
that frames and the inspect part, and especially for inspect features, I did some research and like tried to make our auto layout um, inspect a little bit like more familiar
mm.
with developers, and I feel like that was my favorite feature that I've worked on. So it's, I don't know, I feel like it got better.
Awesome. I love it. You said you specifically tried to make it better for developers. Was this something that you drew a lot from your personal experience as an engineer, or did you work really closely with other developers like in Zeppelin to figure out like, is this useful for you, you know?
um I think it's kind of both. So when Pelin assigned that right panel to me and the inspect feature, I was like, okay, let's see if there's any room for us to improve things, even though it was kind of like we're not working on new features, we're just like redesigning stuff,
Uh-huh.
right? But I was like, okay, let me see if we can do any kind of like small improvements. And I was kind of like, um in the past I did like very briefly HTML and CSS coding,
Uh-huh.
and I was really liking how the browsers are, their inspect part, especially the computed part, are like super informative with the graph and like with the interactions
Mm, mm-hmm.
top of that graph. So I was always having that idea of like kind of like mimicking that on Zeppelin, but better
Awesome.
version.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that so much. Are you when you say that, do you mean like the developer tools in a browser, or is it something
yeah,
even? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay. I love that.
Literally right click, inspect, and then you will see all the exact code parts on
Oh,
the right. Yeah.
I love that. That was my like before I knew how to use Photoshop or anything, that was my favorite thing to do on a website to like change all the text and everything and then take a screenshot and like like to mess around and do all that fun stuff. So that's awesome too that was like that served as your inspiration there. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Speaking on the other side of it too, is there maybe an area with this redesign that you wish that you could have gotten to but didn't quite get to yet, or maybe one that's like planned to further improve down the road, or was this really like we got to everything?
We got most of the things, I feel like. So in that sense, I'm feeling pretty satisfied with the end results.
Awesome.
I wish we did have more stuff for onboarding.
Okay.
Right now, I'm currently working on onboarding of Zeppelin, so we are also redesigning that part, and cool features are coming. We already
Ooh.
include some of them with the Electron redesign package. But like, yeah, I wish we had more.
Awesome. I loved it. That's it. That's awesome though that it's like your next project too. That it's like
Yeah,
it started. So we're going. You already went from 0 to 1, and now you're going from like 1 to 2, and then 2 to 3, and all of the other iterations. Right. I love that.
yeah.
I love that. Awesome. A big part of what we do here at Zeppelin, of course, as you know, is going from design to dev. So how closely did you work with developers during this redesign?
I mean, in general, I feel like in Zeppelin we work very closely with engineers, not specifically for that project, but with that project, since developers are also doing something 0 to 1, they're like working together was like comparing the other projects where we worked more
Okay.
together. So I remember like having these meetings where we kind of like share our thoughts with each other, because when you're making a decision in the design side, you should be also considering its possible results in like developer side. And sometimes before even making a decision, you just want to get their opinion as well, because that's a big decision that will affect both like design and developer side. So in that sense, I feel like we highly collaborated with the redesign work.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. It's interesting that you mentioned that too, because that was one of the things we just chatted with a designer, Alex, yesterday, and he mentioned too. He was like, "I don't think it was back to the do designers need to learn how to code," and his take was like, "I don't think they need to learn how to code, but being able to understand like the technical limitations that you have on the side of development is so important to be able to understand. Like, okay, maybe I do want this design to look like this in my head, but I know possibly like this isn't a possibility. Like this can't be done. So it's always good to have that in mind, and it's awesome too to know that you collaborate so closely with them too.
Yeah.
Are there any like big lessons that or big takeaways that you had after this work with developers on this project?
Yes, I did. Actually, so during the process there was like lots of brainstorming, lots of like idea sharing, lots of feedback. And what I learned during the process, I am tend to do designs a little bit faster. Like I kind of like, yeah, do fast break things mindset. So when I got like my brief, usually when I got my brief, I jump into the design and like start doing stuff
Mhm.
right after we chat with the engineers. But in that process, in the beginning, I was like more, okay, I'm gonna do it this today. I'm gonna complete that one and then like deliver this thing. Like I was kind of like try to do everything in like in a very limited time.
Mhm.
And I think at the end of the process, I kind of like learned the fact that sometimes like stepping back and kind of like taking a moment and then realizing like, okay, what I am doing, are everything like, did I do everything? Am I missing something? Like kind of like questioning your work process and questioning the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
It really helped me. I feel like it also kind of prevents some of the back and forths. But when I miss that part and do like, okay, done, they're on Zeppelin, I realized there's like more back and forth and like process getting like longer and longer.
Awesome. Okay, I love that. It's almost like take like a few seconds to save a few minutes, or you know what I mean. Like take a few minutes to think about it in order to save some hours of like
Yeah,
rework and having to do other things too.
yeah.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all those details about Zeppelin's redesign. I'm curious to know too, just about your opinions on redesigns in general. And
Hmm.
just speaking of redesign too, what do you think every team needs to consider before doing a redesign?
Oh, so in that,
Ooh.
so in general, doing a redesign is kind of like, I feel like the teams should know the fact that redesign requires time. So if you want to redesign things, you should be planning well. You should be aware that that can take like
Mm,
months of work. And in that sense, when you're doing like a redesign, it's also kind of hard to like think about new features or other features of the app.
mm,
So in that sense, I feel like it's the mindset. Like they should have the right mindset. Okay, this is some kind of like a process that might take like months, but at the end, like the results, especially for us, it was like very pleasant. So yeah, just be aware that it will take time, it will take some effort.
I love that. I think the part that you mentioned too is very, very interesting about how you can't really focus too much on other things after that too.
Mm,
Like all of your attention is devoted to that. Is that something that like was the entire Zeppelin design team just focused on this, or like was there one or
mm.
two of you who were like, okay, I'm gonna focus on these other things here too? Like how do you like split that up, or how would you go about splitting that up?
um I feel like our lovely design manager did a great job to like kind of like balance things. So it's all started with Stacy. Stacy started doing some iterations, like explorations for the redesign,
Okay.
and then Kunda and I onboarded to kind of like help to redesign some of the like product areas. I was specifically focusing on workspace,
Mhm.
screen detail, inspect, footer, and also components page of like style guide.
Okay.
So like we kind of like divide the product areas and like kind of assign each of us like at something,
Hmm.
and we kind of like self lead that process. If that makes sense. I kind of own that process.
Yeah.
That was like super super helpful. And when like when you're done with the design, there is like this development time, and in between these like kind of like pauses, like design pauses, we were focusing on our other projects.
Okay.
So in that sense, we did not try to like have both of them like going super simultaneously,
Okay.
but more like a kind of like a balance. So if you're focusing on one more, and the other one is like less priority, it's never like the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So the biggest takeaways here are if you're looking to do a redesign or anything similar to it, you have to be very, very good at your time management, very good at your project management, and understand that it will take a lot more time than you maybe think. So that's good to know. Good to know. I hope that helps a designer or a design lead that's thinking about going through the same thing here soon, and helps them in the planning. So thank you for sharing. Speaking of that too, about the not only the time that it'll take, but what about how do you know when it's time for redesign?
Mm.
Like if you're at a company, if you're doing something, like how do you know like, okay, it's probably time for us to rethink it or to go from 0 to 1 again?
To be honest, I didn't really have that feeling when I was like when I was doing my other Zeppelin projects.
Hmm.
But in my like the companies that I worked in the past, I got kind of like that feeling. I start spending lots of time to figure out things and how to use these things
Oh,
more
okay.
than like designing the feature or thinking about the feature. So I feel like that's a great sign that kind of like shows you that you have to spend a little bit more time about your design library, and that might require redesign, because sometimes like try to like fix something already built but like in a crumbled way is harder than like building something from scratch with like all the rules established. I think that's a great sign. If you start like feeling, oh, okay, I have the idea, I have the like how to do that feature or like user experience, but I don't know like how to achieve it with our library or our components. I think that's the time you're like kind of, oh, okay, that's supposed to be more clear than that. So I think that's a sign.
That's a really good piece of advice for people. I think that can help hopefully like really contextualize it and allow people to apply that to their own. Hopefully there aren't too many people that need to do that, but it's a good sign that something to keep an eye out for, when you're going through your day to day. Maybe it makes more sense to just take a look at it again. I love that. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. And one of my final questions here for you about redesigns is what has been one of your favorite redesigns in the history of design? It could be a new logo, a full redesign, a website update, anything like that. What's been your favorite?
Okay, I will talk about like pros and cons of that redesign.
Okay.
I really enjoy what Microsoft 365 did a couple of years ago. So they used to be having kind of like having that branding, more for like professionals, more like, I would say, boring. Like everything was like, even their like social media accounts was like so like business focused, so like professional
Mm.
focused. So everything was like more serious, like. But then I don't really remember like when they really did that. But then they start using like some colors, some pastel colors, some like kind of glass effect. They redesign their logo, make it more flat. Even they come up with this like rebranding for their ads and like social media accounts, where you see like 3D designs and they're like so cool. Everything is like floating in space. It gives you that calm idea. The colors are like all pastel, so it's everything is kind of designed in a way that it makes you feel calm and like, okay, makes you think that this is something user friendly more than like, okay, this is something serious or
Mm.
professional.
Okay.
So I really like it. However, when you have the app downloaded and when you like open the app itself, I didn't see that much of differences. So I wish we had these like rebranding, these like cool stuff being also reflected to the actual product too. But yeah, I
Oh.
really enjoy Microsoft 365 what they did.
I love that. I think that's fantastic, and it gives me ideas too of like, okay, well, how can I now start to incorporate our new UI look and feel into our social media too? Which I do have some new ideas. So I'm excited to do that, and I think this will be like what I reference in my in my pitch to everybody. It's like, hey, Sally said, so that means we got to change some things around. I love it. I love it. And my very, very last question for you here about the redesigns is it's a very spicy one. So feel free to get as spicy or as not spicy as you'd like. But what is a website or a product that you think is due for a redesign?
Uh, um, okay. Um, I mean, okay. In the past, I took lots of industrial design courses.
Okay.
So we always use like these 3D tools, 3D design tools. I feel like they're all due a
There
redesign,
you go.
design and branding. Because even when you open the app, you're having that feeling that you're seeing Windows 98, like visual elements still there. They're like they're there, and like everything looks so old
uh
with the app. Even they have like a great features. You can do like right now. Some of them are even like offering you AI and like computational art. Everything is like so crazy, and then the user interface, it looks like a Windows 98. You know what I mean? Like this gray bars and like they have like overshadowing things, and like I'm like, okay. Um and they have like thousands of features. You just like spend lots of time to search online how to use that feature, or like how to find that feature. So everything is just hidden in that menu. Um yeah, I mean, I don't want to give specific names,
Of
but
course. Of course.
I think people got it. Like,
Yes.
yeah, 3D
I like
design tools.
step up your game. Let's go. It's 2024. I like though what you said because you applied your own reasoning for how do you know it's time for a redesign when you were like, I don't know how to do all of these things. I spend more time looking up how to use this feature. Like that's the biggest clue in for you and hopefully for them too of like, oh, maybe we should think about updating
Right?
this a little.
But I don't know. Maybe it's time, guys.
Well, thank you very much for being so honest about that. I feel like there are many others that will share your the same sentiment about that too. So I appreciate your
Yeah.
honesty there. I've got a few rapid fire questions, and then of course we will end off with our very favorite segment. So you think you're a designer, where you try to recreate the Zeppelin logo in just 2 minutes. So we'll put your skills to the test once again. You did amazing the first time, so I'm very curious to see what you'll do this time. But until then, I've got a few rapid fire questions for you. So the first question that I have for you is, if you had to guess, how many new components did you say your crew built for this redesign?
I think in on Zeplin we do have more than 1,000 components uploaded, but
Uh-huh.
for some of the components we didn't really change the stuff. Like it was more like migrating the colors and the textiles because we changed our textiles and colors.
Okay.
So I will not count them as like new components because the structure is like pretty similar what we have in the past. So in that sense, I will say half of it. I feel like they are different than the past, or
Wow.
like small tweaks. Yeah,
Okay. I love
facing
that.
wise, yeah, icon wise, they're like small changes.
I love it. I love it. My next question for you is, who did you work with the most on this redesign?
Oh, um, of course, Pelin, like our manager. But also like this project was like the one that we most collaborated in design crew.
Oh,
I mean, we used to like own our own projects and we collaborate to get feedbacks and like kind of like do some brainstorming sessions. But for Electron redesign, we were all working in the same project, and what we are designing is touching upon the other parts as well. So when you're making it component, you should also consider that it's reuse cases in the other pages. So in that sense, like I was just like pinging Kunduz, they say a lot, like my kind of like making the decisions. And since like this is a redesign project, there's also a marketing side of it. So
of
like
course.
every single time we made a decision, or every single time we are doing a promotion on the social medias, I was like closely working with Jen, our lovely visual designer, and of course the engineering part, and maybe like yeah, from the engineering crew, I think I worked with Yahya the most, because we were kind of like start with doing things like color implementation, color style implementation, and
Mm,
textile implementation. So it was like very fundamental,
mhm.
and just kind of like ensuring things like these, like you have to be ensure the fundamentals are there
Yeah.
to build things top of it. So yeah.
I love to hear that it was such a collaborative process and that you got to work with so many new people. That's not maybe new, but you got to just work with people
Yeah.
more and like get to work with them even more. That's awesome. I love to hear that. I love to hear it. My next question for you is, if you could describe the new update in just 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
I don't know. I will say blue.
Blue.
I feel
Okay.
like yeah, it just giving me that blue. I'm also right now super obsessed with Billie Eilish new album. So it might be the reason, I don't know, but I'm just having that like blue. Yeah, I will say blue. Definitely cool because of our new dark mode. When I'm
Mm,
looking at that dark mode like um screens, I'm like, wow, that looks so cool, and like the point.
love that.
I
Love
feel
it.
fancy using it. And I think the third one will be airy. There are lots of white
Ooh.
space usage,
Uh-huh.
which I really appreciate it because like there are lots of like visual stimulus, so we need white space to make it kind of balance. Yeah, airy, blue, and
And cool.
cool.
There you go. I love it. I love it. And with that being said, if you had to pick a new name for the release, because we have right now, it's called the Zeppelin Summer Breeze release. If you had to pick a new name, what would the name be?
Okay, I think because of like the theme of air,
Hmm.
and since we are a design delivery tool, I will go with Hermes. I don't know if I am butchering the
Ooh. Okay.
yeah, like pronunciation.
Like the Greek
Yeah,
mythology route. Okay, I
yeah,
love that. All
not
right.
not the luxury brand, but it's also like see, there is a luxury brand too. Um,
Yeah. Jose's like listening in, like, oh no, we're gonna get sued by Hermes now. We're gonna Oh, I love that. Well, thank you very much. That was all of the questions that I had for you today. And now it is time for what is my personal favorite part of these interviews, which is our segment called "So You Think You're a Designer." And of course, you were one of our very first participants in this, and you did a lovely design just using your trackpad. So I'm very, very excited to see what you will do now. So if you want to, feel free to share your screen. And for those of you who would like to follow along, the website that we direct our esteemed guests to is called jspaint.app. And it's a little online version of Microsoft Paint to take you right back to those Windows 98 days, just like the 3D design tools.
Okay, can you see my screen share?
Yes. Yep, it looks perfect. And we will start the timer whenever the first pixel hits the screen.
Okay, I will start with adding our colors. So
Perfect.
just count that also in the 2 minutes, because the vision of the icon is there,
Uh-huh.
and it will not take that much of time. So I'm gonna be spending
Perfect.
more time to build my design library here.
All right, amazing. This is one of the first times that one of the guests has taken this time to exclusively build their palette, and so I love that. I love the thinking there.
Okay, let's start then.
Perfect.
So I'm just gonna
right.
add our first color, which is our yellow.
Oh, you have the hex codes memorized too. This is good.
Oh no! I'm I have a cheat sheet over there. I'm just like taking the cheat sheet. I cannot even remember like what I ate yesterday. So I just add our second color, light orange, and then I will continue with adding our orange color. That would be so cool if I remember all of these things from memory.
I was like, wow, that is so impressive that you've done. Like, you probably use them so much that you just remember. It's like, wow.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing about like having a design library, because you don't have to remember any of them, and you just like you just like go to your library and pick the color that you would like to have.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. Oh no. This tool is.
Do you have to hit OK, and then will that bring them all down into your little palette?
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting. That's a different user experience than I expect. Oh. Oh wow. I'm suffering with that tool. Anyway, okay, perfect. I'm gonna use that. Pretend like this is our orange, but it might kill me because actually it's not our orange.
That's okay.
Am I over time?
You know what? You've got. We'll give you a whole minute starting from right now, and then we'll be all good.
Perfect. So since our redesign is like kind of like very fresh, very like I will say minimal even an area, I just wanna take a moment to kind of like simplify our icon.
Ooh.
And I know this is not the best representation of it, but I just like took the colors, turned into these like circles, and in order to have kind of like a legacy element, I'm gonna add that. Oh my god, I'm so bad. Oopa. Oh, this is really okay. No, one more time. Okay. This is really bad. It was so good in my mind. I don't know what happened, but it was really, really good in my mind. And then
I really enjoy this take on it. I think this is fun. I love it. It reminds me of like DNA of like I'm in chemistry class. This is fantastic. Oh, in the box. Oh.
Or maybe wait, we need to give some roundness because I mean.
Oh
okay.
yeah. Oh yeah. I think we have a winner.
Okay.
That is lovely. I love that. That is very good.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we should stick with the whole design. But yeah.
I love it. I appreciate the new take on it. I like the minimal approach here. I think it's fantastic. So if you can, please save that and send it to me after this. That would be fantastic. But that wraps us all up for time today. I wanted to thank you so much for joining us and talking all about the Zeppelin redesign, all about your thoughts on redesigns in general. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much from all of the rest of the crew. Thank you for all of the hard work that you did in making Zeppelin so beautiful with this new update. So yeah, if there's any last words of wisdom that you have for everybody, please feel free to share them now.
Oh, thank you for hosting me, Nico, and also thank you for organizing these amazing stuff. I really enjoy seeing all the stuff that you're posting, all the reactions, all the messages that you're
Oh.
doing. So we're following you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And yeah, there's a lot of exciting things to come. So get excited about that too. But yeah, well, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Tune in next week as well. We'll see you then. But until then, have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.